from Harvard, very educated, very intelligent, very with the times, he's cool, he's down, all those great things. We thought he was going to be different. But what has he done? He has exacerbated the war. A State Department official even said in April 2012 that the war on terrorism is over. Now that we've killed Osama bin Laden, now that we've destroyed Al-Qaeda, there is no longer any means for us to fight against terrorism, because the opportunity for legitimate Islamism has arrived. Well, it's one thing for policy carriers to say something is something else quite different from the party themselves. The very year that that administrator made that statement, Obama had authorized 283 strikes in Pakistan alone of drone attacks. And I try not to spoil anybody's lunch or dinner. I didn't put the pictures of the catastrophe of what those drones can do. When all of those little children are blown into tiny little pieces, we call it collateral damage. Well, that collateral is somebody's child. What do they have to do with anything? And I was debating one time, one guy said, well, their father must have belonged to Al-Qaeda. And I said, where do you get that? He said, well, the Bible even tells me that what? The sins of the father shall revisit their children. I said, you haven't read the Bible enough. You have not read the Bible enough. I say, keep reading some more. We come to the New Covenant, where it also says, the sins of their fathers shall never again be visited by their children. And you was wondering, how do you know? And one thing my wonderful presenter missed was that I am a Muslim. I served Master as an altar boy during my youth. So I know my Bible from beginning to end and to beginning. And as a student in Italy, I studied Judaism under the great Rabbi Eliotov of Rome. So I know my Torah from beginning to end to beginning. In my office, I have my Torah, I have my Bible, I have my Quran. In my home, I have on my desk. Whenever I'm in doubt, I have a question, I open them and read. So I'm not fooled by those people who have not read even the entire Bible. Maybe read Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, and that's it, if I don't thoroughly. Now, some of us can even get our pastorship through computer by online course. So I try to learn. I try to learn every day. I read my Bible, my Torah, my Quran before I go to bed. Because there's a lot there. There's a lot there. And I also know that there are many, many more similarities. There are a few differences that we exacerbate. So when we are faced with people like that making decisions that are not informed, we have problems. So Obama and Bengura observed, less than 9 months into his presidency, as soon as they awarded him the Nobel Prize, turned out to be one of the most militarily aggressive United States presidents in decades among the contemporary United States presidents. We have to be honest. I know my black folks in the United States beat the crap out of me for jumping on Obama, but we have to be honest as scholars. Ruth Ramsey pointed out that what? In Pakistan, Yemen, and Somalia, more than 5 times, 50 non-battle drone strikes authorized by Bush. Obama comes in 3,430 strikes. That's excessive. What are you bombing? What are you bombing? Africa now is bearing the brunt because significant amount of Obama's military adventurism is getting away with it. This is mainly because, as Professor Horace Great Campbell said, Africa has been demonized in the West for decades to justify military intervention and imperialist expansion. Africa is today being depicted again as the scene of instability, violence, and terrorism. All you got to do is, oh, well, somebody invited me to come, and boom, you got the excuse to expand, to do your adventures. And there are always going to be opportunists who want power themselves that are always going to invite you to come. Is that justification? Correspondingly, Obama established drone bases in 3 African countries this year, at the end of last year and this year alone. In Djibouti, in Ethiopia, and a couple of weeks, 3 weeks ago, in Niger, to make sure, keeps eye on what is happening in Mali. And not only that, he has 16 drone flights daily from Camp Lemra in Djibouti. These are just the regular flights, 16 daily. And those folks are not just going to go there and play chess in the sky. They have targets. So there are many, many things going on that we will not even see, because again, as Joseph Kony said, the media also is complicit in it. They don't talk. David Axe has provided a quite unsettling example of what Obama drone strikes have caused in Somalia. Air raids by manned and unmanned U.S. craft have killed 16 militants. All these things we've done. And just in 1 month, 112 innocent civilians died from those raids. So yeah, let's get 16, 112 died, they just collateral damage. We have to question these things. Now we also have to start questioning, what is this motive, what is this grand strategy in the war on terrorism in Africa? It was more about the continent's strategic natural resources and China's growing presence in Africa than it was about fighting terrorists. And as I will address the African Council in Congress next month, on the paper I've done, I'll give you just a little bit of that. The Arab Spring, and then I call it an epitome of Western political machinations. This so-called Arab Spring that we were going around saying it's indigenous, homegrown, it began here. Now we discover it's a myth. It was something that was concocted. Now we have evidence that people were being brought to New York and be trained. And now, doing my little computer science knowledge, doing artificial intelligence, I'm now unearthing evidence where some Arab immigrants in the United States, we are even putting out there all these tweets and all this Facebook that everybody says, oh, the way these people are organizing, they use Facebook and all that. Now we begin to know where most of that source was coming from. So we are manufactured right here in the United States. And we are being sent out there in the Middle East for the world to think that these people were so organized, they were so, yeah, they did. I'm not saying they didn't use those tools, they did. But now we are digging out through our own little knowledge of data mining and other skills, artificial intelligence skills, to see how where some of those things were emanating from. So what do we see? We find out that there was a very concrete plan to make sure that Russia and China would be kept out of some of these territories so that they don't compete with us for those resources which we wanted. And what are those resources? Here are, go back just a little bit. Here are where we have now all those African bases all over Africa with troops presence, which they don't talk about. Next. And this is a good one. The bad challenge and exacerbating the terror in Africa. How widespread it is, we don't talk. You don't even know about that. What we see is whatever they want us to see on TV. Next. And what has happened? What has happened, sadly enough, Willie Bruss, as I said, went home to sleep. That's Powers, Samantha Powers, everybody knows her by now. She was in front of the fight against Bush for his wars. We don't hear about them anymore, all of us don't know. So it's okay to protest against or to make a lot of noise, to make a lot, as long as Republicans were in power, so that Democrats come in, well, we can go on now. Why these resources? Uranium. Well, we know that France, 80% of its energy depends on what? Uranium. Is it not interesting? The Tuareg we are fighting in Mali, not in Mali. Let's go help the Malians. Bam! But the first 1,200 troops, we're going to send them to Niger to go cover the uranium bases. It's mad guys. Oil. We have made it very clear that anybody who stands in the way of our access to those resources, that's why we put the first drone base, in fact, in Djibouti. We didn't make it a secret. Make sure to protect those oil lanes from the Middle East and Africa, because now we know by 2020, almost 75% of our oil is going to be coming from Africa. And we deny it. In fact, in Somalia, we said, oh, Somalia, we don't have any oil interest. There's no oil, it's negligible. It's not even enough for us to do anything there. And then the guy that had the bull on, Abdi, said, well, we've already signed contract with the Chinese to come get oil. Bam, the next day he was invited to Washington, D.C. He was in Washington, D.C. 48 hours and said, you better go back there and tell the people that you didn't sign any contract and notify the contracts. And we also see what is happening in Mali and Niger. The Chinese have one of the biggest uranium mining plants in Niger. So now France is going to make sure the Chinese are kicked out because they cannot send military to protect the uranium. So what do the Chinese have to do? They have to bring their people out so the Chinese are not getting it. And so now I will take it over. How would they do with Mohammed, the president of Niger? The week before French intervention, I said, we are losing money. We had signed a very bad deal with the French. We are going to renegotiate this thing and make new deals with anybody we see fit. So the news reporter asked him, does that include China? He said, why not? And then the next day, French troops were there. Coincidence? I don't know. But it's very, very interesting. And then we also see, as Schreiner reported, France second in less than 2 years into former African colonies, Cote d'Ivoire, of course, and then now Mali. But what is interesting is that French usually intervene militarily in African countries like almost an afterthought until the Malian and Niger intervention. They send the troops to Niger quietly. Nobody was supposed to know until some nosy reporters began to tell the secrets. And that's when they had no choice but to admit that they had already sent them there. But Boubacar Boris Diop, the great Senegalese poet and literarist, who we hope someday will win the Nobel Prize in Literature, said there was more also to just the natural resources and China's challenge, and of course the emergence of quota. But Holland also had a perception of being perceived as a weak leader. And now Mali and Niger is going to give him this opportunity to show that he's a strong leader. So before he even sent the troops, they had already ready the Palais, Élysée Palais, to begin to design a big media spectacle. And the day before he sent the troops, they had already put newspapers out to say that read Holland, the war chief. Now this is an opportunity for this guy who is seen as a weakling, who is seen as a dead, slow guy, to show that he's also very strong. So they say we cannot dismiss that, because what is interesting, that it was the same France that during the war in Libya even gave a pass to the Tuaregs and even allowed them to have a safe passage, asking Washington to allow them to have a safe passage to go back to Mali, not to Niger. So they did not anticipate any trouble that will filter into Niger. And Krajewski reported that Obama has sent 100 troops to Niger to support the French mission. So you see this collaboration between Washington and France, and sometimes with Britain, to what we call the new recolonization of the African continent. So, implication for resources. And this is something that appeared in the Johannesburg Times. That by the time of Obama's office, we're going to have an Americanization of the African continent because of its tentacles everywhere. Because AFRICOM has made it very clear they are going to send troops to 36 of the independent African nations, in addition to about 12 nations where they already have troop stations. So that's almost the entire continent, where there's going to be active American military presence in those places. And what did we do yesterday? We appointed an African American now to head the African section of AFRICOM. I forgot the guy's name because it's relatively new, but I saw it in the news yesterday. And what am I saying? I'm not saying that any country, especially a superpower, has the right to defend itself. Every country has the right to fight against terrorism. And when 9/11 hit, I was one of those Muslims that was not pretentious to call the folks who committed the act what it is, terrorist act, and a cowardly one. And the fact that some of them said they were doing it because there were hidings in those buildings, that was the biggest baloney I've ever heard. Because the Quran teaches every one Muslim or one Jew you even kill is like killing an entire nation. That did nothing to you. So those guys were not taught the right things. So they were terrorists. The only place I disagree is when you use the religious name in association with terrorism. Because there are a lot of terrorist acts that are committed by Christians and other people of religious faith. And we don't call them Christian terrorists, Buddhist terrorists, and other terrorists, because only Muslims did it, and that's where we diverged. And I've gotten the list of all the folks that faced their demise during that day. And you'll be amazed the hundreds of Muslims that were part of that catastrophe on that very dreadful day. So they also killed Muslims. We also know that if Saddam Hussein was to seek to buy uranium from Niger, if he had wanted, he would have gotten it. So Bush did not have to make up the lie in front of the United Nations that he was getting uranium in Niger, which we are still waiting for to see. All the so-called weapons of mass destruction will turn out to be weapons of mass deception. So there are ways we can still pursue our interests, fight terrorism, and prevent rogue actors from getting their hands on African uranium and other resources to pursue their cause. We did it with the Soviet Union. When the Soviet Union collapsed, what did we do? We worked with those countries to make sure that the scientists don't go to other countries to give them that knowledge to create trouble for us. Why haven't we adopted similar strategies in other societies? So whether we like it or not, if we are really serious, we're going to have to scrap that AFRICOM, because it has done nothing but militarize, and it will continue to militarize the state, and those states that are part of it are going to be targeted by those groups who are fighting against the West. We also know that Africa is not going to solve its economic problems and also deal with the political and military threats it has if its own countries are in shambles. So we have to think very seriously about a Marshall Plan for that continent, just like we did for Europe after World War II. Not all these so-called foreign aid where you send $1 and $5 come back. And where it's tied. I will give you $10, but you have to spend $9 on buying American goods and paying American contractors. So they go to Nairobi, they sit in this nice, luxurious hotel in a nice air condition. They've never been in the field. I saw it myself when I did my economics dissertation on Egypt and our foreign aid to Egypt. The guy who was supposed to be in Trafalgar had never been there. He's sitting there in Cairo running a program he's never seen. I'm asking the guy, oh, I haven't been there. I said, what the hell are you doing with my tax money? And then the most weirdest thing I found is some of this aid is so misguided. Here we are having a Muslim society, and we are going to have birth control, we're going to have family planning, oh, wonderful. So we send them all these boxes of condoms. What the devil do you think these kids were doing with the condoms? Filling them with water and having what? Water balloon fights. What an education. So again, did we work with these people? Did we talk to them? Did we ask them what they need? What things were they doing all these years that we could have helped them? We could have spent our money on. Or in other parts of Africa, we dig wells. 2 days later, the wells are filled with toads, and the well is gone. Because we never learned how those people were getting their waters and work within their own system. So we need a rethinking of how we do this aid. And Lonnie had mentioned that the misguided reliance on force is shown in the disastrous results of what we do. So I conclude. We have to respect other people. We have to start thinking of equitable partnerships. We cannot know it all. We may have the power, we may have everything, but we have to say even the little potato, his views count. Well, if we think we in the West have all the answers, we know everything, we can just go and superimpose, we can just go and teach, we're not going to learn. We have serious problems. Africans also have to know that they have a responsibility. Morality is not the name of the game. Morality can take you but so far. Africa has to clean its own house. Some of those dictators have to go. The only thing I oppose, don't come use your drone to enforce that change. Let the people do it themselves, like they did in Nigeria, as they did in Egypt. When the people are sick and tired, they'll do it. I don't care who the dictator is. But when you have to bomb me to force democracy, I have a problem with that. What kind of democracy is that if you're going to bomb me to accept it? Take it or I'll bomb you. That's a problem with that. We Africans also have to realize that our relations between men and women are unequal, and that our power as a continent has to go back and learn from the days when matriarchal leadership was very beneficial. And I'm glad Brother Zubaru is here, because he's from Mende, comes from Mende country. In the good old days, 12 of the 14 paramount chiefs in Sierra Leone in Mende country are women. They were able to feed their whole queendoms, they call them paramount chiefdoms. Things work. And Humonia was even a soldier too. She stood in front of her army and fought men and fought other people if they tried to mess around in her chiefdom. And then the British came. You men, you let these women rule and run. We're going to have a democratic system, a British parliamentarian. Get rid of these people, get to democratic. You see, democracy is very interesting. Now they put the men, what do they become? Puppets. Women gone, all of a sudden now we have hunger. And now do not concentrate on producing food to take care of the kingdom or the chiefdom. Now import food, all you do is ship the diamonds to us, ship the gold, and have a trade and interesting exchange. Well, these people were also trading too. Under 12 of the 14 women, queens or kings that ran those societies. So we have to go back and say, what is it can we learn from what those women did that was so right, and bring it forward to today. Given these realities, the United States had no choice but to learn to work with Africans. Africans have no choice but to strengthen, to unite, and to start cleaning their own house and going back and creating a degree of equality between its genders. Because Africa is not poor. It's very resource rich. It's a very huge continent. It can swallow the United States. If we want to take one country, we even put Canada there, and almost 20 countries can fit to Africa. So it's a vast continent, so much resources. There's not resource in the world you can think about that it doesn't have. So Africa's problem is not because it's poor, it's resource poor, it's resource rich. Africa's problem is its leaders. And there was a great story, Angolan story. They say when God created the world, He gave every continent its goodies. So the Europeans got mad at God. God, why did you put us on all this frozen tundra, like Canada? Here we are, almost summertime. Here is the snow. You are not fair. And he said, who else has a problem? The Asians came. He gave us all these tsunamis, all this catastrophe. Why did He do that to us? God said, who has a problem next? So every continent came up with his own problems. You gave Africa everything, good weather. They don't need air conditioners, natural air conditioners. They don't need any heaters. All the animals in the world you can think of are there. Resources, gold, diamonds, human beings. Great Nile, White Nile, Blue Nile, water, everything. You gave Africans all these goodies. And God said, you guys think you have a problem? They said, yes. They said, God said, wait till you see the African leaders. So Africa is not on our radar screen, it's a good lesson. As you remember, when George Bush came, South Africa was not on the radar screen. Now the great Colin Powell was out. These Rice was in. It was the now Dove versus the Hawks. 9/11 hit. George Bush realized he needed Africa to fight the war. He has started this way, started all these things and all that. He realized there was something missing. These people, if they don't work with me, if they don't come up with things, I'm in trouble. Went to Senegal and he was pounding the drum and dancing the drum. Next. Now I don't know if you're able to push your thing in. Play that clip. Double hit that. Oh. Back. Yeah, just knock in the middle. Just hit in the middle, double click in the middle there.
No, cannot play, sorry.
If you double click in the middle, yeah, it will.
I think our computer isn't good enough.
It's not good. Alright, let's move. Alright. Yeah. Just say continue from yeah. And not to be outdone, what happened? Chinese premier, when Java also went to Nigeria to pound the drum. Hey, if Bush can pound drum, I'll do it too. Yeah, if not, he's going to get all those resources. Next. He also going to do the dance. Okay, next. And now Obama comes in. Just go back, yeah. And Obama now is doing the worst imitation of the Bengura dance. Why BK has not learned the tricks? And this is supposed to be half African. His father was from Africa and all that. Who expect a whole lot from him? I don't know what Africans will say. Oh, well, you know, they are lying. They thought he was going to do a whole lot more. And last but not the least, but if your thing don't play, then you messed up the whole thing. Because this is really the heart of this closing.
No, it doesn't play. Sorry.
That's okay. I'll find you guys. You messed up the whole show.
Yeah, so it's the,
Because it's embedded in it's embedded in the
Yeah.
thing, that's why. It's in the jump drive. I think we should have downloaded it
on the computer and play
Right,
it.
and then you will pick it up. But that's the Gobwe dance, and I was saying that when Obama does the right thing, we'll teach him how to do the Gobwe dance. Now,